in Karnataka is tense after a BJP youth wing worker was hacked to death. His family, Praveen's family, claims that he was killed just days after he put up a Facebook post criticizing the killing of Kanhaiya Lal. The police, for now at least, are ruling out that the Facebook post was the reason or this was a retaliatory killing for what he posted on Facebook. They are looking at a rivalry that happened on the ground where a few days ago a Muslim youth from Kerala was killed. And in fact, even in this case, the police say that they have reason to believe that the accused persons came in a bike from Kerala, did the hacking of Praveen, and then went back to Kerala. Karnataka police teams are in Kerala right now, even as we speak. But first, the story.
Massive BJP Yuva Morcha protests earlier today as the mortal remains of the BJYM worker hacked to death in the state's Dakshin Kannada district late Tuesday evening are taken for last rites. Praveen Netaru, known to be active in social and political circles, had left his poultry shop in Bellary village around 9 p.m. yesterday when unidentified men on a motorcycle attacked him with lethal weapons. He was brutally hacked to death. Tensions peaked in the area with the state BJP president's car being corralled.
It looks that it was a very pre-planned attempt, and such similarities were there in other cases. So we're studying the whole thing into entirety, and then we'll go to the roots of it.
A distinct hate crime angle emerges. A social media post suggests Praveen Netaru was targeted as he slammed beheading calls. Locals also suggest the killing was retaliation for the murder of a Muslim youth in the area a few months ago. Several right-wing groups have accused the PFI and SDPI.
Initially, report जो आ रहा है केरल का जो SDPI और PFI का लिंक है, ऐसे मैसेज मीडिया में वगैरह आ रहा है, मीडिया और सोशल मीडिया में. पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहा है. हमारे सरकार उधर जो है सख्त कार्रवाई करेगी और जो कल्प्रिट्स है they will be brought to book.
The VHP has called a band in 3 taluks. Additional forces were rushed in from Mangaluru and Udupi. 6 police teams have been sent to Kerala and Madikeri and Hassan in Karnataka.
This is unfortunate. The incident took place when the innocent youth was closing his shop and going home. Such incidents have been happening on the coastal side for many years. Police have already started investigation, have requested police to ensure law and order is maintained. Anything might be the reason, but such incidents must not occur.
The Dakshin Kannada region has long been intensely sensitive communally. The latest murder says dousing long simmering sparks will be a huge challenge ahead.
Across to Aiyshwarya Mahadev, Congress spokesperson Adhitya Srinivasan, advocate, also joining us. Aiyshwarya, the family of Mr. Praveen is saying that they have reason to believe that the Facebook post that he put in support of Kanhaiya Lal is the reason why he was killed today. We had the Home Minister of Karnataka in the last hour saying that they suspect PFI and SDPI folks as being behind this murder. Is it a crime in this country to express an opinion, however reprehensible it may be, and then to get killed for it?
Good evening, Zaka. I think first and foremost, I want to express my deepest condolences and my strongest condemnation for this crime. And it is extremely unfortunate that a youngster in this country, especially my state, has been hacked to death. And I hope that the government takes the strongest action necessary, as my leadership already reiterated. But Zaka, 2 things. First and foremost, I think this is a very, very strong law and order failure, situation of law and order failure in this. And I think this abdication of responsibility of blaming somebody from another state and whatnot is also weak on the part of the Chief Minister, especially from a region where if you look at Dakshin Kannada, Uttar Kannada and Udupi, that their entire region is completely BJP save for 1 MLA, and this situation has arisen. Second, when you come down to, should such crimes arise because of somebody's expression of an opinion? Absolutely not. And I think this is the same thing I've reiterated on your show when it came down to even Kanhaiya Lal's the situation that happened there and how brutal and gory that it was. But however, I think the lack of strong action whether it's from the government or the criminal justice system, has obviously created this situation of vigilante justice. And that is something everybody has to look at. But a little context into coastal Karnataka, Zaka, that you realize that this is the communal laboratory or the communal hotbed. And this us versus them narrative has been going on for so long that every day youth from across different faiths are sacrificed and become cannon fodder for some larger person's political ploy or political agenda. And that is the most unfortunate part of what is happening in these situations.
I want to ask Aditya, I want to ask Aditya Srinivasan, yes, it is a law and order issue, no doubt about it. And I think people's anger was reflected in the way in which the BJP state president's car, you can see those pictures. It was, I mean, the entire mob had descended on that car. They were shaking that car almost violently. So yes, people's anger there is understandable, and it is a failure of law and order, but it is also a hate crime, at least on the face of it. Yes, the police are saying that they're investigating whether the Facebook post had anything to do with it, or whether there was some kind of interpersonal rivalry that led to Praveen's unfortunate demise. The question is, we have seen this repeated pattern with other cases as well. We saw this with Kanhaiya Lal, we saw this with Umesh Kole in Maharashtra, and now we're seeing this with Praveen in coastal Karnataka. There needs to be stricter enforcement of the law, maybe even a stricter law, if you will, to enforce strict rules when it comes to hate crime. India cannot allow hate crime to go unchecked like this.
Zaka, I'll get into your question for just in just a second. I'm speaking as someone who is an advocate. I don't particularly care for the specifics of the politics. My biggest concern, my biggest issue is that our freedom of expression, not just as a constitutional value, but also in terms of how it's implemented as a law and order issue, has become such that you apply different standards for different sets of people. Now, I think that is the real problem, and that's what needs to be addressed, whether it is by the judiciary or whether it is to the introduction of as you say, a stricter law or any legislation which sort of tries to harmonize these standards. It cannot be the case that things said by certain persons belonging to certain communities or certain groups of people are considered to be reprehensible, whereas equivalent statements that are put out by persons or different persons belonging to different groups or different communities are not considered to be reprehensible. There needs to be, at least as far as something like this is concerned, that is the freedom of speech, there needs to be, in my opinion, an equal standard for all sets of people, for all groups of people.
No, so to that extent, I mean, to put it in layman terms, you can't say in one case freedom of speech suddenly becomes blasphemy, and in the other case it's kosher, because you've got to apply the same standards. And I don't, for one, believe that in a constitutional democracy you should have place for things like blasphemy. I mean, we are ruled by IPC and by CRPC and by the Indian Constitution, not by some religious grunt. So the point, and I'm breaking this down into layman terms, is it has to be the same standard whether you are saying something against X god or Y god. The law of the land should apply equally, Aditya.